Coming up on Network Africa. The African Union expresses deep regret over ECOWAS exit of Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso. Ethiopian federal authorities admit to starvation deaths in Tigray and Amhara regions. Plus, Zimbabwe's opposition figure, Job Sikhala, to be freed after getting a 2-year suspended sentence. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. The African Union has declared its deep regrets over the decision this weekend by military regimes in Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger to pull out of the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS. In a statement on Tuesday from the AU's Commission Chairperson Musa Faki Mahamat, he called on regional leaders to intensify the dialogue between the ECOWAS leadership and the three countries. Those three nations accused ECOWAS of posing a threat to their sovereignty. They had all been founding members when ECOWAS was set up almost 50 years ago. Nigeria had also rebuked Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger for leaving ECOWAS, saying they were letting their people down by quitting the group. Niger's junta has expelled 15 members of the European Union's capacity building mission UCAP. According to the country's interior minister, Brigadier General Mohamed Toumba, the individuals had returned to Niamey on the 24th of January without informing the government, and they were ejected from Niger 2 days later. According to the government, the EUCAP mission, comprising 120 security officers that are helping to bolster Niger's forces, was terminated in December after more than a decade of working together. The junta has indicated its intention to downgrade military ties with European countries while diversifying links with countries such as Russia and Iran. Niger's anti-Western rhetoric has also raised questions about the future of U.S. troops that are stationed at a drone base in the northern city of Agadez. At least one person is known to have been killed in an attack that's been claimed by English-speaking separatists in Cameroon's troubled southwest province. Several other people are reported to have been injured in the attack that happened in the city of Bua. Militants who want to create a breakaway state have been forcing residents to observe a so-called ghost town protests that's designed to bring economic activities to a halt in the region. The Cameroonian authorities are yet to comment on Sunday's attack. Well, the bodies of 2 UN peacekeepers that were killed in the disputed region of Abyei along South Sudan's border with Sudan have been flown back home. The Ghanaian and Pakistani peacekeepers from the UN Interim Security Force for Abyei, UNISFA, were killed in separate incidents following recent intercommunal clashes in the region. A ceremony attended by the leaders of the 9 chiefdoms of Abyei was held in the honor of the 2 peacekeepers before their bodies were flown home. Well, there have been continued clashes between local communities in Abyei over land and resources, with fears that the ongoing war in Sudan could spill into the region. Both Sudan and South Sudan have claimed the oil-rich Abyei, but agreed on temporary administrative arrangements in a 2011 deal. The area remains under the protection of UN peacekeeping troops, and according to UN spokesperson Stephen Dujarric, UNISFA is intensifying its efforts to protect civilians. He also gave more details on the identity of the peacekeepers that were killed.
Our peacekeeping force there, known as UNISFA, is intensifying its efforts to protect civilians with patrols and monitoring focus on central and southern Abyei. Yesterday, our peacekeeping colleagues there paid tribute to the 2 peacekeepers who lost their lives in an attack over the weekend. Their bodies have now been flown to Entebbe, where they will then make their ways home to Ghana and Pakistan, respectively. Sergeant Kerry Evans of Ghana was 37 years old. He was killed when repelling an attack by unidentified gunmen on our base in Agok, and that took place on Saturday. Sergeant Evans was deployed to UNISFA in May last year and has helped support the mission's protection activities. The other colleague was Spy Muhammad Tarek, was 26 years old, but already had 6 years of service in the Pakistani army. He had arrived in Abyei to serve with the UN just 2 months ago. He was killed on Sunday in an attack on his convoy while escorting wounded civilians who were going for medical treatment. And of course, we once again convey our heartfelt condolences to his colleagues, to his families, and to the people and government of both Pakistan and Ghana. The UN personnel safety is a top priority for the mission, and our colleagues at UNISFA are taking every measure to ensure they can continue to fulfill their mandated tasks safely. We are actively supporting efforts to de-escalate tension and call on local, national, and international actors to collectively step up and seek solutions at all levels to resolve the tensions. UNISFA will continue carrying out its mandate to protect the civilians in Abyei.
Almost 400 people have died in Ethiopia's Tigray and Amhara regions due to drought-induced starvation. Now, this is according to the country's state-appointed Federal Ombudsman Institute, contradicting earlier statements from federal authorities that there had not been confirmation that anyone had died of starvation in the region, and also dismissing the possibility of famine. Deaths had previously been reported at local district levels, but there had not been comprehensive data. Now, the Institute says an assessment by its team of experts reveals that millions were impacted in the 2 regions and tens of thousands had already been displaced, with thousands of children in the affected areas not attending school. The Institute is now advising government agencies to avoid wasting energy on terminology and work towards providing aid in the regions. Last week, the federal government's communication office said more than 6 million people requiring emergency humanitarian assistance because of drought in the next 3 months had been identified. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa is warning that the nation's case against Israel at the United Nations could lead to foreign interference in this year's crucial election, where his party faces the risk of losing its majority. The International Court of Justice urged Israel to prevent harm to Palestinians during the crackdown on Hamas, but stopped short of an immediate ceasefire. Israel denies the genocide allegation. President Ramaphosa, addressing the ruling African National Congress, emphasized how South Africa's stance exposed the alleged atrocities by Israel and criticized countries allowing genocide in Gaza.
The fight back may also focus on our domestic politics and our electoral outcomes in order to pursue a regime change agenda. Now, some people have said this was a David and Goliath type of contest. So we must be aware that whilst we have done what we believe was driven by our conscience and our principles, and whilst we also went and did the right thing and take this matter to the courts that were set up by those who were there in 1948 or so, as they set up that court, we are being blamed for taking the matter to the very court that they set up. We didn't take this case to a kangaroo court.
Zimbabwean opposition politician and a former member of parliament, Job Sikhala, is finally a free man after a record 595 days on pre-trial remand. A court on Tuesday handed the lawyer a 2-year suspended sentence for inciting public violence, ruling to free the activist who has spent nearly 600 days in pre-trial detention. The politician was detained in June 2022 following the killing of an opposition activist, More Blessing Ali. The former MP was accused of encouraging supporters to violently react to the murder of Ali. Mr. Sikhala was convicted of inciting public violence on the 24th of January in Harare, but he has denied the charge and his lawyer says they would appeal against the conviction. 51-year-old Sikhala was kept in the Chikurubi maximum prison in Harare, which houses Zimbabwe's most dangerous criminals. Former opposition parliament member Godfrey Sitole, whom Sikhala was convicted and charged, was handed the same sentence. Let's get more on this story. Joining us now is Nigel Yamutumbu, Zimbabwean journalist in Harare. Hello, Nigel. Thank you for your time. What more can you tell us about the Zimbabwean opposition politician and, the former MP who's finally a free man after a record 595 days on pre-trial remand?
The release from prison of opposition activists and leader Job Sikhala is indeed a welcome development. As has been alluded before by many pundits, analysts, supporters of democracy, the cases of Job Sikhala were largely politically motivated, and indeed the pre-trial detention that he went through were unfortunate. It does come at a time that there are a lot of developments within the political space, particularly in relation to the opposition politics in Zimbabwe. It comes to a divided opposition. He comes to a changed context in which some members of parliament from opposition were recalled. So he is basically coming at a point where we are uncertain of what move he will make. He was interviewed yesterday and from which he was non-committal as to whether his future would be in the CCC formation that he was a part of, or whether he's going to lead any particular movement. Obviously, he still has 2 more pending cases that are still to be judged, adjudicated upon. One which will be, whose judgment will be passed next week, and the other the following. So he's yes, free now, but his trials are continuous, and it's yet to be seen what move he will make.
Still on the question of, opposition leaders in Zimbabwe, last week, popular opposition leader Nelson Chamisa quit his CCC party, alleging a hijack from the government. Tell us, what is his next move? Does he plan to, quit politics, or what do we know of his next move?
The announcement of the resignation by opposition leader Nelson Chamisa from his party, the CCC, remains quite a topical issue in the political context in Zimbabwe at the moment. We currently do not know what his next plan or move would be, as so far what we are only seeing press statements that are emerged from the party, which is fragmented into 3 sects. The one that is being led or championed by Sengezo Chabangu, who was leading the recalls of members of parliament. Another that was led by senior members of the opposition that worked with the late former Prime Minister and opposition leader Morgan Tsvangirai, among them Tendai Biti and Washington Nube, who have also reconvened to try and appoint a new leader. From his own loyalists, they've also sent out a message saying they will engage him to come back to the fold, to lead them again. But what remains clear is he remains the most popular opposition leader in Zimbabwe. He remains with the most traction, social capital, and indeed his base is wide. So it's yet to be seen what move he will take, whether he will start another party or rebrand, or whether he will come up with another setup is yet to be seen. Perhaps the chances are he's also waiting to read the move and set the tone and see how other leaders, including Sikhala, who has now been released from prison, will take perhaps for him to concretely tell his supporters and the nation and the world at large of his next move. But for now, really, it's unfortunate that it seems as if the alternative and opposition space in Zimbabwe is in disarray.
Welcome back to the program. Residents have been evacuated from small coastal towns near Cape Town in South Africa, even as wildfires sweep down from surrounding mountains and burn out of control. Authorities have ordered a full evacuation of Pringle Bay, a coastal village popular with holiday makers about 80 kilometers from Cape Town. People were also evacuated from parts of the nearby town of Betty's Bay. Wildfires are relatively common in the mountain ranges around Cape Town and further down the coast in the South African summer, but it's unusual for towns to be completely evacuated. The fires began Monday and are being fueled by the hot, dry weather and strong coastal winds. Well, for more on this, joining us now is our correspondent in Johannesburg, Innocent Samosa. Hello, Innocent. Talk to us about, give us more details about, the ongoing evacuation operations.
Hi, greetings to you, Layo, and our viewers around the world. It's always good to be in your company. Once again, Cape Town in the thick of things. The fires doesn't want to go away. It seems as though it's now a norm whereby every week we'll be talking about the fires in Cape Town. But we understand that this one in the Winelands area, it have been blazing for 8 days now, and we understand that over 25,000 hectares of vegetation land have been destroyed. This also speaks to business, Layo. You would know that South Africa is one of the biggest exporters of wine to Europe. That speaks to, the gains that we've made post-COVID-19 are now being, taken back. So it's really a challenge if you look at it in that front. But also, we know that it also destroyed 4 properties, but luckily no one was injured. No one was reported injured. And the firefighters that are deployed, there's about 115 firefighters that are currently battling the blaze. It is devastating scenes once again in Cape Town. And the wind, the dry weather, as you just alluded to, is not making it easy for firefighters to deal with the blaze, Layo.
Indeed, and the Pringle Bay, for example, is said to be popular with holiday makers. And so how are those affected, including locals, coping with this disruption of having to move?
100%. In fact, the Cape Town District Municipality Mayor, that is Elna van Slich, she said that the line on the Elands Bay is now contained, which is quite comforting for now. But residents are evacuated, as you rightly alluded in your intro, that they are being moved to a small town near Cape Town. It is, again, a challenge to move people in that particular area because it's mountainous, for lack of a better term, and which becomes difficult for evacuation processes to be smooth, if you like, Layo. But I guess this is a wake-up call for the Cape Town municipality to basically, direct more funds to get more fire engines, strategize as to how they will deal with issues of moving people. As you rightly put, Pringle Bay is just outside, it's 80 kilometers outside of Cape Town, and Betty's Bay also. We know that people were evacuated that was on Monday. But yeah, like I've indicated, like it's a wake-up call for the municipality in Cape Town for them to really plan for such eventualities, because they know that most of the time it happens during December time, where it's windy and it's dry. December moving into November and February, January and February, it becomes difficult for them to deal with the fire. So I guess it's a wake-up call, as I've indicated, but it's challenging for firefighters to deal with the blaze as it stands, Lyle, because of the wind in Cape Town.
All right, then we leave it at that. Thank you so much, Innocent Samosa, our correspondent in South Africa.
Thank you, colleague.
Well, the co-founder and director of Zero Carbon Charge ZCC, Andreas Malherbe, says addressing the climate crisis requires a multifaceted approach, including transitioning to renewable energy sources and implementing policies to reduce carbon emissions. Mr. Malherbe adds that ZCC is making progress in advancing sustainable mobility with the completion of South Africa's first fully off-grid electric vehicle charging station, anticipated by June 2024. It's intended to cut 15 million tons of carbon emissions.
That is the sad part of the story, is that if you charge an electric car off the grid, you have a worse carbon footprint than if you drive a petrol car. So there's no net benefit. So the only way that you can do that is to charge electric cars with renewable energy and to generate that on site. So once we employ our network, we will make a significant difference. We will save in a 15-year period over 15 million tons of carbon CO2 equivalent, and eventually we will move our business into the trucking space, and we will save even more carbon. So transport accounts for about 12% of the emissions in South Africa, 12 to 15%. And if we can charge electric cars and trucks with renewables, we will make a significant dent into the carbon footprint of the country.
Well, the British High Commissioner to Nigeria is urging the recent Chevening and Commonwealth scholars who just returned to Nigeria to ensure the knowledge they've garnered is used to make Nigeria better. He was speaking at a reception for the returnees at his residence in Abuja, where the scholars described their scholarship experience as life-changing. Our correspondent, Kayla Megwa, has more.
Chevening and Commonwealth alumni gathered at the residence of the British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Richard Montgomery, to welcome the set of 2023 for both scholarships. Mr. Montgomery begins by reminding the returnees of the national burden they bear.
Both Commonwealth and Chevening are very, very competitive schemes. And so when you were selected, we already knew that you had intellectual ability, you had a commitment to contributing to your country, and you also had the potential to play leadership roles in whatever profession or role that you would choose. So we knew you were already talented. What we really hope is that the courses that you have studied on, the university communities in which you have just spent time, that this experience has given you new skills, new knowledge, new contacts, new ideas, new inspiration, hopefully.
Florence Marcus. After several well wishes, the returnees are given certificates, and we spoke to a few of them about their experience.
It's a life-changing experience because the network is second to none. It gives you access to change makers from all over the world, not only Nigeria. You get to share ideas for development. You get to have You get to have resources at your tips. You get to really understand the dynamics from around the world. So that network is second to none.
I already have a plan on ground. I'm planning to expand my business because before living here, I already have an established organization called Initiative for the Liberalization of Physically Challenged People in Nigeria, which we focus on providing remedies to social issues, welfare, education, and job opportunity for people with disability. So what this means to me is like with all the experience that I've acquired there, I'm ready and fully equipped with the necessary skills to come back and make sure that my country also is doing well.
When it comes to Nigeria's development, every little helps. And that's what the scholars at today's event hope to be bringing to the table, both the Chevening and the Commonwealth scholars. Now, as the British High Commissioner had noted, it's not that they're not talented. Everyone knows that this is a talented group of people, or they would not have gotten the scholarships in the first place. What is hoped is that all that they've learned will be used in whatever fields of endeavor they find themselves in to make Nigeria better. From the residence of the British High Commissioner to Nigeria in Abuja, Kayla Magwa, Channels Television News.
There's a place reserved for Nigeria in the global garment manufacturing market because Africa is currently the cynosure in that space, and Nigeria is strategically positioned to represent the continent. Well, these were the views of garment manufacturer and CEO of One Stop Celebrations, Shola Babatunde, who also addressed some of the myths around owning a garment manufacturing factory. She was speaking on our inspirational program, Transform Her.
The future to Nigeria is very bright. This is the time to get up and own it. This is time to arise. Everybody is looking at Africa. Nigeria is strategically positioned to take the market and show that Made in Africa is luxurious, Made in Africa is great, Made in Africa is of good quality. We're very creative and hardworking people. We just need to direct and harness what we have. So every SME or upcoming feels, oh, I need to have a lot of money. I need to be Dangote's daughter or somebody's wife to have enough money to be able to start a big fashion house. That's a big myth. No, just have your knowledge, have your grit, have your, someone was saying stubbornness, and I said, no, stubbornness sounds negative. You need to make it positive. The grit to stand and say, no, I'm going to do this. If you have that, you're fine. So keep at it, be consistent, be intentional. You would eventually make a good name that would eventually bring the money.
You can watch more on this interview on Transform Her today at 4:30 p.m. And that's it on Network Africa. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.